When I first took up my abode in the woods, that is, began to spend my nights as well as my days there, which, by accident, was on Independence Day, or the 4th of July, 1845. My house was not yet finished for winter, but merely a defense against the rain, without plastering chimney, the walls being of rough, weather-stained boards with wide chinks, which made it cool at night. The upright, wide-hewn studs and freshly planed door and window casings gave it a clean and airy look, especially in the morning, when the timbers were saturated with dew, so that I fancied by noon that some sweet gum would exude from them. To my imagination it remained throughout the day more or less of this auroral character, reminding me of a certain house on the mountain which I had visited the year before. This was an airy and unplastered cabin, fit to entertain a traveling god, and where a goddess might trail her garments. The wind which passed over my dwelling, the winds were such as sweep over the ridges of mountains, bearing the broken strains or celestial parts only of terrestrial music. The morning wind forever blows, the poem of creation is uninterrupted. But few are the ears that can hear it. Olympus is but the outside of the earth everywhere. The only house I had been the owner of before, if I except a boat, was a tent, which I used occasionally when making my excursions in the summer, and which is still rolled up in my garret. But the boat, after passing from hand to hand, has gone down in the stream of time. With more substantial shelter about me, I had made some progress towards settling in the world. This frame, so slightly clad, was a sort of crystallization around me, and reacted on the builder. It was suggestive somewhat, as a picture was in outlines. I did not need to go outdoors to take in the air, and for the atmosphere within, had lost none of its freshness. It was not so much within doors as behind a door where I sat, even in the rainiest weather. But they say that an abode without birds is like meat without seasoning. Such was not my abode, for I found myself suddenly neighbor to the birds, not having imprisoned one, but having caged myself near them. I was not only nearer to some of those which commonly frequent the garden and the orchard, but to those wilder and more thrilling songsters of the forest, which never or rarely serenade a villager. The wood thrush, the veery, scarlet tanager, the field sparrow, the whippoorwill, and many others. I was seated by the shore of the pond, about 1.5 miles south of the village of Concord, and somewhat higher than it, in the midst of an extensive wood, between the town and Lincoln, about 2 miles south of that, our only field known to fame, the Concord battleground. But I was so low in the woods, the opposite shore, 1/2 mile off like the rest, covered in wood, was at my most distant horizon. For the first week, whenever I looked out on the pond, it impressed me like a tarn high up on the side of a mountain, its bottom far above the surface of other lakes, and as the sun rose, I saw it throwing off its mighty clothing of mist, here and there, by degrees, in soft ripples or smooth reflecting surface.